chapter 15, 11 through 32, referencing the prodigal son. Then Jesus said, "There was once a man who had 2 sons. The younger said to his father, 'Father, I want the right. Now, what's coming to me?' So the father divided the property between them. It wasn't long before the younger son packed his bags and left for a distant country. There, undisciplined and dissipated, he wasted everything he had. After he had gone through all his money, there was a bad famine all through that country, and he began to hurt. He signed on with a citizen there who assigned him to the fields to slop the pigs. He was so hungry he would have eaten the corn cobs in the pig slop, but no one would give him any. That brought him to his senses. He said, 'All those farmhands working on for my father sit down to 3 meals a day, and here I am starving to death. I'm going back to my father. I'll say to him, Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand.' He got right up and went home to his father. When he was still a long way off, his father saw him. His heart pounding, he ran out, embraced him, and kissed him. The son started his speech. 'Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again.' But the father wasn't listening. He was calling to the servants, 'Quick! Bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then get a grain-fed heifer and roast it. We're going to feast. We're going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for dead and now alive. Given up for lost and now found.' And they began to have a wonderful time. All this time, his older son was out in the field. When the day's work was done, he came in. As he approached the house, he heard the music and dancing. Calling over one of the houseboys, he asked, 'What's going on?' He told him, 'Your brother came home. Your father has ordered a feast, barbecued beef, because he has him home safe and sound.' The older brother stalked off in an angry sulk and refused to join in. His father came out and tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. The son said, 'Look how many years I've stayed here serving you, never giving you one moment of grief. But you never threw me a party for me or my friends. Then this son of yours, who has thrown away your money on whores, shows up and you go all out with a feast.' His father said, 'Son, you don't understand. You're with me all the time, and everything that is mine is yours. But this is a wonderful time, and we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead, and he's alive. He was lost, and he's found.'" Pastor Eric's coming this morning to give us a story, more contemporary story, a monologue, to depict this image this morning from Scripture.
I guess I'll start telling you the story by telling you a little bit about my family. My name's Tom Smith. I'm in my mid-50s. I know I don't look like it, but I've got two sons, a wife. We live in Savannah, Georgia. That's where I was raised. Grew up on the west side. Went to college at the University of Georgia. Went to law school there too. My wife Mary and I, we met as undergrads and got married right afterwards in downtown Savannah. And she joined me in Athens when I went off to get my law degree. After I got my degree, I didn't want to go anywhere else but Savannah. I went back and became I really loved trial law. Became a trial lawyer, and my first few years, I had some really good cases that really got my name on made a name for myself and began to make some money. Actually, went out and created my own firm. Slowly began to build that firm up and had a great career. Made a lot of money. Eventually moved out to the islands, Skidaway Island. Had a beautiful house there. Raised our boys there. Was able to send our boys to one of the best schools in Savannah Country Day, and man, they just excelled. Well, at least Tom did. Tom's my oldest. Tom, everything Tom did, he was a natural at it. Sports, baseball, football, soccer. He just did it all. His academics, he was always so smart. He just excelled everywhere he did. And he was so charismatic. People were just drawn to him. Everywhere he went, people just wanted to be with him. And that was Tom. Everything came so easily. So when he came to college, he could go anywhere he wanted. He wanted to go to Georgia. And so he went up to Georgia as well. That's where he met Julie, but of course they didn't get married right after college like Mary and I did. They ended up going to law school and getting married right after law school. He could have gone anywhere he wanted to practice, but he wanted to come and practice with me. Man, he was an excellent real estate lawyer. Tom could have done anything he wanted. He came back to be with me, and I was so grateful. Now Luke, he's our youngest. It's a little bit different story. Now Luke, well, he, as naturally as everything came to Tom, not everything came as naturally to Luke. Actually, everything came difficult. He wanted to be like his big brother, so he went out to all the sports, baseball, soccer, football, and everything he did, he just so terrible at it. He tried hard, but it never came easily. He tried at school as well. Once again, always middle to the bottom of the pack. We tried to put him in as many different things as we could, but he never quite could thrive like Tom could. That is until middle school, when he came home one day and he told Mary and I around the dinner table, Tom had already gone off to college, he said, I put my name on a list at school today. They had auditions at Savannah Little's Theater, and I want to audition for this play. We thought, let's try everything else. Let's try this. And lo and behold, if that boy of mine didn't try out and get the starring role, the very first play he did, he was excellent at it. If we were looking for something that he was a natural at, man, whenever he was on a stage, he was so incredible, so engaging. Everyone wanted to see and be a part of what he was doing. And so when he went off to high school, that's what he did. He was in every play in school and every play in town. He even went up to Atlanta one time as part of a regional production. Luke was so good. He didn't really have as many options as Tom did. But he wanted to be like his big brother. He wanted to be like his dad. So he worked hard his junior year to get really well at the SAT and get his scores up. And so he did. And so he got just enough to where they didn't necessarily look at all of his grades, to where he could get into the University of Georgia. And I tell you what, I was so proud. We took him up there to Athens, and we got him moved in, and it felt like home. And we went home, and I was just so proud. And that was the first year that Tom was beginning to practice. And so while Luke was off at school, we were really helping Tom try to get his leg up and get a practice for himself. And I guess looking back, I probably could have paid a little bit more attention to him, but really, everything we heard was all good. He was talking about all the friends that he made, and about the plays that he was in, and about all the fun that he was having. We never really heard much about the grades. And so we just sort of let it go. Didn't really think about it. Sometimes we do that, right? Well, Christmas came. And it was a beautiful Christmas. A little warm, but it was so nice. We invited our entire family to come celebrate around the Christmas dinner table. And so Mary cooked this incredible meal, and we had my mom was there, and Mary's father was there, and Tom and Julie was there, and Luke was there. We laughed, and we had so much fun. The table was full of so much joy and happiness. Oh, wow. It was like the life was so full. If I was to say, so perfect. Now, after we had finished opening all the gifts that day, Luke pulled Mary aside and said, Mom and Dad, I got something, a proposal I want to make to y'all. Can we meet you back in the study and let me tell you about it? So we came back to the study and Mary and I sat in the leather chairs there. This is kind of my sanctuary from all the world and surrounded by all my books. And Luke pulled up the desk chair, and he sat in front of us. It was so animated. He was so happy. And his face just sort of lit up, almost like he did on the stage. And he said, Mom and Dad, pretty soon you're going to get well, actually, you're not going to get my grades because you can't get them. So I'm going to just tell you what I made this year. And I know it's not going to make you happy, but I want to tell you about it anyway. He said, well, I failed every grade, every class, except for one. I made a D in my acting class because I showed up. It's the only class I really showed up at. Now, at this point, my heart just sort of got really in sync, right? But Luke was so happy. He said, but I've got a proposal for you. You know that I'm not as good as Tom when it comes to school and everything else, but you know that I come alive on the stage, and I've been thinking about how do I become this person now. Maybe I'm who I'm created to be, and so I'm thinking that maybe what I would like is to go up to New York and put my life into acting. And I know, Dad, that you've been putting money aside ever since I was born, for me to go off to school. And you told me one time last fall when I was coming to school that you had put aside almost $200,000. And my proposal is this, Dad. Instead of you investing that money for me to go to school, would you be willing to invest that money for me to go become a professional actor? Invest it in me, and I'm going to go up and I'm going to take acting classes. I'm going to get into as many auditions that I can get. I'm going to get an agent. And Lord, and Dad, will you just help me do it? And you can see the excitement and the energy on his face. And this is something he had thought about, what he wanted to do. And after he left, Mary and I, in some ways, acknowledged that what he said was true, that we really didn't see him as an academic. We really didn't see him as a college graduate. Then maybe, but we did see him on the stage, and maybe this was the alternative life, alternative career he was going to take. So we said yes. We said yes. We're going to invest in you, our son. Eventually, during January, we began to make plans, and I moved the money over into his account, and we began to figure out how he was going to live, and he was going to go up and stay with a friend for a little while. Then he was going to get his own apartment and kind of develop his own life. And we were so excited about all this energy about what was going to happen for Luke's life. I remember standing sometime in the middle of February at the airport in Savannah. It's a small airport, and you could watch them go through the security. I remember Luke going with his full suitcase. He kind of waved to say goodbye. I wish I'd have known it's going to be the last time to see him for a long time. You see, everything was great at first, right? All the information, we would FaceTime, and we would text, and we would call, and everything he said was all the great things that were going on in his life. He had gotten an apartment. He was buying furniture. He was buying clothes. He had gotten an agent. He was going to acting classes. He was going to audition after audition. Everything seemed so exciting, and we just kept knowing this was going to happen. He was going to break through. This was going to be it. And so we just kind of put it back on our side and kind of kept on going with regular life. And by the fall, the FaceTiming had stopped, and the phone calls stopped, and soon the texts were terse and short. Yes and no, and okay, thank you. And at Christmas, we were getting ready, to have that celebrative time around the dinner table. And so, about the 1st of December, I called and said, Luke, when are you coming home? Your mom wants you to be home. We want to see you. We're ready for this exciting time for all of us to be together to celebrate what year has been since you made that proposal. And he said, Dad, I'm not going to make it this year. I got this audition on Christmas Eve, and it's for a commercial. I think it's going to be the commercial, the thing that's going to help me break in. I'm not going to be able to make it, Dad. I could hear the disappointment in my voice. And he said, but we'll have another time, Dad, I promise. So we gathered around the Christmas table on that Christmas day, and, there was still so much life. Julie was pregnant. Actually, she was almost to have her baby that day. We wondered if it would happen this year or next. And everybody was talking about tax write-offs and things like that. And the energy was there. My mom was there. Mary's dad was there. And it was just so much fun. And we did notice that there was an empty chair, right? And so we said, we'll text and try to FaceTime with Luke this afternoon after dinner and open gifts. So I texted. They said, we're going to try to get together a certain time. And he never texted back. So I FaceTimed him. He didn't answer. Then we called. Went straight to voicemail. And I think the first time I realized something had happened was I tried to look up on my phone to find your friends. For the past, for how many years, I could always find out where he was. I knew he was safe. And for the first time I looked at it and said, location not available. Son was lost. Didn't really worry at that night, but then slowly the days went on, and he didn't call, and he didn't call, and we didn't know where he was, and the anxiety began to grow. And finally I called the apartment, and the superintendent at his apartment building. I said, I'm looking for Luke Smith. Have you seen him? He said, well, Mr. Smith, Luke left in the middle of the night sometime in December. He hasn't paid his rent for months, and we've been trying to get him, trying to give him pay back how much he owes us. I have no idea where your son is. Begin to call friends. No one had seen him since Christmas. No one knew where our son was. Soon the next day, Mary and I are on the plane. We're going up to New York. We're going around police department after police department, hospital after hospital, and trying to see where our son might be. No luck. We thought he was lost. Now we knew. We couldn't find him. I came home after weeks in New York City, and I went back to that same study. Pretty private. And I didn't know what was going on. I got out of my drawer, one of my piece of stationery, and I wrote on this piece of stationery, I said, Dear Luke, welcome home. Come inside. Your mom and I love you. We always have. Love, Dad. And I put it in an envelope, and I got some duct tape, and I went out to the street, and I pulled down the mailbox front door, and I taped it on the front part of the mailbox, and I put Luke on the outside so he would see it. I closed the mailbox and waited. If you want to know what it's like to lose a son, it feels like this. You carry this weight inside your stomach, and it never goes away. It's like this raw that just eats away at you all the time. You can never stop moving. You walk and you pace and you run and you rock, and you always are anticipating that you're going to go somewhere to do something, to try to fix this situation. And it's the one situation that you don't know how to fix. And always in your mind, you're thinking, and you're thinking, and you're thinking about all the things that could be happening. And your mind goes to all the places that you don't want it to go, but it always goes there, night after night after night, and you don't get much sleep. by. First, our church family at Grove Street Baptist Church, where I'm the deacon, and Mary is so much a part of our ministry there. Well, they just come alongside us, and they sit and pray with us, and they make meals for us, and they take care of us, and we get articles in the paper and online, and no one has seen Luke, and we just go on, and then, after about 6 months, all the friends who've been trying to support us slowly begin to die off because they don't know what to say or know what to do because we don't know what to say or do, and all of a sudden it becomes just me and Mary. By the next Christmas, it's been almost 2 years since we've not seen Luke. The year since we lost him, the mood around the table wasn't very festive. Didn't have much to give. My mom looked older, much older from the past year. Tom's, or Mary's brother, or dad was growing older. The only light was the little grandbaby, almost a year old now, was born right after the new year. And she was the only thing that brought us any kind of light. That night, after all the festivities, if you can call them that, I got a phone call from a friend in town, Ben. Ben said that his son was in town from Vanderbilt, and he had a story we might want to hear. James came by, and he came and he sat in the same study as before, and he said, Mr. Miss Smith, I want to let you know I've seen Luke. Last spring, while I was at Vanderbilt, he came and stayed on the apartment, another apartment, and stayed on our couch. It was good to see him for a while, and he looked good, and he was energetic, but eventually we began to realize that he was with people that we didn't feel very comfortable with. And my roommate eventually said that he couldn't stay, and I had to tell Luke that he had to go. And he said, that's okay, man. I'll be okay. And Mr. Smith, I'm not sure where he's gone. It was the first note that we knew that he was alive. And it gave us this bit of hope. But then, nothing. January, February, winter felt so hard. Mary and I's relationship began to change. We became tense with one another. We argued more. My practice just about failed. I couldn't work. I couldn't try anybody else's problems. I couldn't solve my own. By Father's Day, it's hard to celebrate Father's Day. I realized that we had not checked the mail in probably a week. We'd just forgotten to do all the tedious things of life. So I went out to the post office, mailbox, and pulled open this note, and still there's this waterlogged note barely hanging by the duct tape. And I pulled the rest of the mail out and bring it inside. As I'm going through it on the way back to the house, I noticed this card from the Antelope Canyon in Navajo area of Arizona. I was like, that looks strange. So I turn it over, and there on the back side, it's a note. Dear Dad, I'm doing good. I love you. Happy Father's Day. Love, Luke. He was alive. First time I heard from him in I don't know how long. And the hope rose. I came in and told Mary, we were so excited. And we kept trying to figure out. We actually made a trip out to Arizona, trying to figure out if we could find him. We went from Phoenix to Flagstaff, the Grand Canyon. We looked all over the place. There was still no sign of him. By the time we came back, it was like the dagger had just been pushed even deeper into our lives. It wasn't much about life at that point. Much energy, much hope, much joy. By the time Christmas rolled around again, we couldn't do anything with family or friends. Didn't want much to do with anybody. No one knew what to say. It was hard to go to church at times. People would look at you with pity. They'd wonder what kind of parents we were, that we would lose a child like we did. Friends just had passed by the wayside. But on Christmas Eve, I told Mary to go into the candlelight service at church. We went. It was an unusual Christmas Day or New Year's or Christmas Eve in Savannah. It was cold. So cold that it was up there in the afternoon they began to have these stories that it could snow in Savannah, which has never happened, so let alone for Christmas. But as we're coming out of Christmas Eve service down in downtown Savannah, we look up and by and behold, it is snowing. It's like a Christmas miracle. And you're just snowing. You're like, what is this? And maybe for a little bit our hearts just sort of rose, but we didn't let it go any farther than that because we've been hurt for so long. Came home, go to bed. And I remember it was about 11:30. Because it was on the TV in our bedroom, I saw that the Christmas Eve Mass was taking place. Then I heard this knock. I came downstairs thinking that maybe something had happened to Tom and someone had come in to check on to let us know what's going on. And I opened the door. And I see this raggedy man. At first I think it's a homeless man who's made his way out to the islands. Long hair, there's snow on him, he's wet, the clothes are ragged. Then in his hand, I see the note. And I realize it's Luke. Luke! And I throw my arms around him and I hold him tight because my son is home. My son who was lost has been found. And I twirl him around and I yell up to Mary, Mary, get down here. Luke is alive. He's here. Come, come, come. And she rushes downstairs and she grabs him. She holds his face to make sure that it's him. And it's him. The energy comes back into our lives. And at midnight, I called my friend Steve Brown. He's a caterer in Beaufort, South Carolina, just over the road. I said, Steve, I want you to be here tomorrow. We're going to have the greatest feast of all feasts because my son is alive. And I want you to be here, and I want you to host us. I want you to invite everyone to come and for us to celebrate that Luke is alive. By the next day, that we hadn't gotten much sleep, when I walked around the house, energy was going on. People were going all over the place. They're all setting up places to eat, and they're setting up a party, and there's energy, and there's festivities. And Luke is now shaven, and he's now washed, and Mary can't stop beaming. And then I hear it, boom! It's the front door. And Tom rushes past me. And all I hear is, Dad, study now. I'm like, what's going on? And I come and I sit down, the same study, same chair as several years ago. And Tom just begins to pace back and forth. And I can see the anger is so deep and so mean. And he's shaking, he's so angry. He says, that brother, that son of yours, what are you doing throwing him a party? I've been here all of my life. I've done everything you wanted me to do. I've got my degree. I've got my law degree. And I'm serving right beside you. I've been the one keeping your firm going over the past several years. While you've been wasting your time going from here to there, looking after that son of yours. How dare you throw him a party? Come and I just hug him. I can feel his body shaking. And I pushed him aside and I hold his face in my hands and I said, Tom, your brother, my son, was dead. And now he's alive. He was lost. And now, You know, Jesus tells this story in his own time to people who are trying to figure out who this God is that he keeps talking about. He's trying to break their mold about how they view God so they can see God in a new way. He tells it in a parable that makes sense to them. And we often call this the prodigal son, but the focus is not the prodigal or the older brother. It's the father. The father who waits day after day to see the sign of his son walking down the street. Or a father puts a note on the door of his mailbox, always welcoming his son. I think there are three pieces of grace that are so important in this story. Maybe that's our part that we can pull out and think about as we go home today. First, you see the loving father exhibit the grace of space. When the son has to go, the father releases him. You know, when God wants us to love him from the creation on forward, he gives us the space for us to love him. Because there's not true love if you have to force someone to love you. So he gives him the grace to space, knowing that when he comes back, the love will be true and pure. The second part of grace is the loving Father gives the grace of receiving. Maybe this is the part of grace that we're so familiar with. This is what Jesus does for us. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. That while we didn't deserve anything, this grace is bestowed upon us so that we may receive it. It's the kind of part of grace that makes no sense. We want the prodigal son to have to pay for it like the older brother, right? But grace is about the fact that it's free and it's a gift. And that someone's waiting for us on the other side. So that grace is so powerful in this story. That wherever we are, whatever we've done, whatever part of this story that we connect to, that God's grace is there, receiving us, inviting us into a new life, and giving us a new life. I once told the story at Miami at a homeless church. And afterwards, a man came down and said, you know, I haven't talked to my family in years. I'm ready to go home. Will you call? Will you help me call? And we saw God's grace alive right there. Third part of the grace, I think, is the grace of forgiveness. None of us deserve to be forgiven. But you see, in both the Jesus parable and mine today, is that the Father receives them where they are, and the past is the past. Scripture says that we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But God is gracious and just to forgive us of our sins and cleanse us of all unrighteousness. Not that we deserve it. It comes as a gift of grace. This morning on Father's Day, where do you need grace in your life? Where do you need to extend grace? Where in this story do you find yourself? And where can the loving Father speak to your hurts, to your hopes, to your fears, to your life, to give you the strength to keep